Welcome to the Sunder the Sky podcast. I am your host, Christopher Sky Sunderer, coming to you from my fortified bunker and all of that stuff. Listen, I'm going to do a series of these short videos just addressing this ongoing problem of fact checkers on social media. As some of you know, in fall of last year, it was right about this time last year. Actually, it was in the month of August. I got hired as a fact checker for Facebook under a fake name. The independent fact-checking organization that I worked for is called Project Wolo. U-O-L-O. I worked there for a couple of months. You know, when I first got hired, they had a manual that you had to learn, and they tested you on it. About a month in, they came out with new guidelines because they had updated their fact-checking procedures. They called it the new, quote, holistic fact-checking guidelines, end quote. Which is exactly as horseshit as it sounds. Anyway, they were on to me by, I think it was November, and they fired me. So I took all the information that I had, a full account of my experiences in dealing with the company. I was constantly, I would play dumb, and I would just ask, wait a second, but that's not really a statement of fact. This is a statement of opinion. So there's nothing really in it for me to fact check. And at first I would get answers like, just do your best, or something like that. But then after a while they'd say, look, we want you to treat it as if it's a fact. And then I would get more and more detailed, basically telling me, it doesn't matter that it's not a fact, we just don't want people to draw the wrong conclusion from something. Right? You know what they're doing. Anyway, I took the manuals and, I gave a full account of my experiences, and I sent all that stuff into Project Veritas. And anybody who wants a copy of those manuals, I never signed the non-disclosure agreement, so they can't do anything to me. If you want a copy, I'll send them to you. Just hit me up. Christopher Sky Sunderer on Facebook, or the Sunder the Sky podcast group on Facebook. Or you can message me on YouTube, where this is going up. But anyway, I'm going to do some of these videos for stuff that I see on Facebook, and I see the fact check and I click on it, and it's just like, knowing what I know about how they work, it's not a fact check, right? And before I get into today's fact check of the fact check, nothing happened with the Project Veritas stuff. And the impression I had, they got back to me and they said, thank you for sending this in. We are looking into this. You may hear from us. And I never did. Right about the same time that I had contacted Project Veritas and sent that stuff into them is when Candace Owens, most notably, and a bunch of other people, there were actually 13 high-level podcasters and YouTubers who had joined together to sue Facebook, Twitter, and, Candace Owens also had her own lawsuit against fact checkers, I think from Facebook. I don't remember. But the impression I had is Project Veritas didn't want to get involved in something that was the subject of these ongoing high-profile lawsuits. I'm not sure why, but they don't seem to have really gone after those fact checkers as much. And also something else happened, you might remember, in fall of last year that was kind of big news, something to do with an election being stolen. Anyway, Veritas has been very much focused on that stuff. So, okay, that's where that stuff stands. As far as I know, I may hear from Project Veritas yet, and they may want to do something with me about the fact checker stuff. But anyway, this is the item. This little graphic, I think this actually came from the Daily Wire, the Ben Shapiro show, little neocon trader Ben, an account of what the Taliban has of American military hardware that was left behind in Afghanistan. It is an account of that based on the information we have in hand, right? And of course there is a fact check banner slapped across it, or fact check notice, that says partly false information checked by independent fact checkers, which I know is bullshit. I used to be one of those independent fact checkers. I know how they work. And then, of course, is the button for CY. Now, I don't know if any of you guys ever click on these things. I advise you to do it. check on the button to see why. If for no other reason, if you never click on it, you never see just exactly how full of shit these fact checks are. But I'm going to walk you through it now. They say, oh, partly false information. Okay, well, here's what you'll see if you click on see why. It'll take you to a PolitiFact article about this viral image where they rate it mostly false. Now, PolitiFact is right up there with Snopes in terms of their credibility, which is to say they have none. And I'm having another bad allergy day, guys, so bear with my voice if I sound a little high-pitched or dry. I'm going to blitz through this fairly quick. The headline, the U.S. left the Taliban and, quote, arsenal, end quote, in Afghanistan, including 358,530 assault rifles and 22,174 Humvees. Now, the only way they can attack this, that headline is true, completely true, right up until they get to specific numbers, which are just estimates. Okay? The U.S. did leave an arsenal in Afghanistan that is now in the hands of the Taliban. That's true. What's your fucking problem? Right? But it's the specific numbers. It's the fact that anyone actually listed specific numbers. That's what they have a problem with. This is what the Nazis called controlling information, controlling the flow of information to shape public opinion. The Soviets did it in the USSR, the Nazis did it in Germany, and now the Democrats in America do it because the Democrats are, after all, a perfect synthesis of Nazi fascism and Soviet communism. So you come down and it says claim overstates military weapons equipment U.S. left to Taliban in Afghanistan. Well, no, it doesn't. It's an estimate. And it's everywhere that has reported on this. Every source that has reported on this has said it's just an estimate. Now, the if your time is short box then has 2 bullet points, and I'm going to address both of these. Bullet point 1. It's too soon for a comprehensive accounting of the usable military weaponry and equipment the U.S. left behind when it departed Afghanistan. And no one has claimed to have a comprehensive accounting of the usable military weaponry left in Afghanistan. The graphic doesn't claim that. The organization that created the graphic isn't claiming that. No one sharing the graphic has made that claim. No one said that. Bullet point 2. A viral image overstates how much was left, in some cases citing counts of materiel that were brought to Afghanistan over more than a decade. In some cases. Well, let me fact check you. In all cases, it's citing counts of materiel, of military materiel, that were brought to Afghanistan over more than a decade. They're looking at what the U.S., what military equipment we sent over there for our troops over the last decade. Exactly right. That is where those numbers are coming from. For this estimate, not comprehensive accounting. Yes, some of that equipment may no longer be usable. In fact, some of it is most certainly no longer usable due to wear and tear and breakage. How is this a fact check? So just to go through the rest of this article quickly. When the United States ended its 20-year war in Afghanistan, how much in usable military weapons and equipment did it leave behind? Too much. We rated false a claim that the Biden administration gifted the Taliban with $80 billion plus in military-grade weapons. Only a fraction of that amount was spent over the 20 years for hardware. There has been no accounting of how much of it was left and is usable, and one expert told us the aircraft and other military equipment are likely worth less than $10 billion. So what? And I love when PolitiFact... You're a fact-checking organization. I love when you do this, an expert told us, blah. What expert? Who? When? What specifically did they tell you? Quote them. You're not... Folks, I have said repeatedly, I have a lot of sources that I protect. I'm not a journalist. Sunder the Sky is not a news podcast. It is an opinion podcast. That having been said, I give you more facts than any mainstream news outlet. I now understand why Steven Crowder beats his head against the desk so much. He's running a comedy show, and they give you more news than CNN. Listen, I'm a pundit, not a journalist. PolitiFact is a fact checker. You don't get to have secret sources, ass. Well, an expert told us different, so there. That's not fact checking. That's not credible. Now comes a claim that is more detailed, but is also overstated. The viral image claims that the U.S. left what amounts to the Taliban's new arsenal. I say that about the expert. An expert told me. Hey, an expert told me PolitiFact is full of shit. They're run by Satan-worshipping Nazis. That's what my expert tells me, guys. Oh, I'm not going to tell you who the expert is or what specifically they said. Just an expert told me that, so don't listen to PolitiFact. You see how that works? Do you understand that if you're an organization holding yourself up as fact checkers, you don't get to throw the, oh, well, I have an expert. A little bird told me. A little bird told me doesn't work if you're a fact-checking organization. The image lists 19 categories of items, ranging from 358,530 assault rifles to 22,174 Humvees to 33 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. Okay, and I love how they say this is a claim that is more detailed but also overstated. Well, you know what else is a claim that is detailed, but we can't verify? One expert told us the aircraft and other equipment are likely worth less than $10 billion. That's very detailed. Quoting again, but not only has there still been no accounting, the figures cited are inflated because they are dated. Yes, because it's an estimate. Again, you're not saying anything that isn't already part of the graphic. Quote, the short answer is that all of the numbers are wrong, said Jonathan Schroden, a military operations analyst at CNA, a safety and security think tank. The viral image. Many posts with the viral image from Ben Shapiro and others were flagged as part of Facebook's efforts to combat false news and misinformation on its news feed. The image was also shared by the official Twitter of the House Republicans. The image says the figures come from the U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, which experts say is a gold standard for such counts. Oh, is it? Is that what experts tell you? That that's the gold standard? Yeah, those crazy experts, always there right when you need them. But the figures in the viral image are dated. They are not a count of items now in Afghanistan that were left behind and are usable. Well, you don't know that either. Overall, most of the weaponry and equipment were provided over many years to the Afghan forces that opposed the Taliban, while some remained in control of the U.S. military. Again, you don't know how much of that is true either. And then they give a sampling from the 19 figures. Now, I'm going to go through these quickly because these make my point better than anything. 358,530 assault rifles. That figure appears to be from a 2017 report from the U.S. Government Accountability Office that counted the number of rifles, including AK-47s and sniper rifles, provided over some 12 years from 2004 to 2016. And, yes, so that's the most recent information we have on how many rifles they have. 64,363 machine guns. That figure also appears in the Gao report. It counted the number of machine guns provided from 2005 to 2016. Again, that's an estimate based on the most recent information we have on how many machine guns we sent over there. 22,174 Humvees. The figure appears in the Gao report. Oh, look at that! So it is a credible figure! It counted the number of Humvees provided from 2003 to 2016. So all they're saying is, yes, these are the numbers we have in hand. How is this refuting the claims in the image? 33 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. As of June 30th, 2021, there were 33 usable Black Hawks in Afghanistan, according to the Special Inspector's latest report. You just confirmed the Black Hawk count is accurate to this summer. 10 Cessna AC-208 strike aircraft. As of June 30th, again, 2021, there were 10 usable AC-208 planes in Afghanistan, according to the Special Inspector Report. So that's information they had this summer, too. But here's where they get to the point. None of the figures take into account how many items remained in Afghanistan and were usable when the Taliban took control in mid-August. Figures for the Black Hawks and AC-208s also don't take into account how many aircraft were flown out of Afghanistan by pilots during the withdrawal. Well, because that information is going to be classified until it is declassified. Experts including GlobalSecurity.org Director John Pike and Jason Campbell, former Country Director for Afghanistan in the U.S. Office of the Secretary of Defense for Policy, said it's important to note that even if some of the materiel was left in usable condition, it might have little value given the Taliban's limited ability to use and maintain highly technical assets such as Black Hawks. Well, they don't have anybody that can fly them. Oh, well, I don't know if this might have any bearing on that, but they also just signed an alliance with China. Now, do you think maybe... Can you hear me? Hey, PolitiFact. PolitiFact, can you hear me? Hey, do you think maybe China has access to somebody who can fly a fucking helicopter? I mean, my God. Our ruling, I'll just skip to the bottom here. A viral image claims that the U.S. left the Taliban and, quote, arsenal, end quote, in Afghanistan, including 358,530 assault rifles and 22,174 Humvees. An unknown amount of usable military weaponry and equipment was left behind following the U.S. departure from Afghanistan, but no accounting has been made. Figures cited in the image are dated, including some that count weapons or equipment that was brought to Afghanistan over more than a decade. The post contains an element of truth. No, the post contains the truth based on what we know, but ignores critical facts that would give a different impression. We rate it mostly false. No, the facts that it's ignoring are the facts we don't have in hand. It is not ignoring those facts. We don't have them to provide. Just like you don't have them to contradict the graphic with. Which is why you're saying, oh, mostly false. This is just like the little kid, oh, you don't know. You don't know. How about this? How about you lefties get your demented old pedophile out of office before he does even more damage and leaves another unknown amount of weapons to some terrorist group? That's it for today, guys. I'm doing another one of these soon. Until then, thanks.
Does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to get them home if they want to return home.